EDF, EDF, and I'm going to start the video like that because this is Earth Defense Force 5. If you'd like to check out the game, there is a link in the description, and personally, I love these kinds of games. I know that seems a bit weird for me because usually I'm into strategy and stuff like that, and well, that's the thing. This game has so much fun included in it, and it is just that. It is pure fun, and that is exactly the reason why I am making a video on this today. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you briefly. If you're not aware of EDF or Earth Defense Force, then you obviously won't know about any of the classes or anything like that, so I'm just going to go over them relatively quickly just so that you can get a brief overview of what is actually going on. Anyway, basically Earth Defense Force is all about fighting giant insects and blowing a whole bunch of stuff up. There's a massive amount of destruction in the game as well. Buildings can be destroyed, and you can go into their hives underground, and there's just all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Big explosions, huge amounts of fun. You level up, you get items, you gain new weapons, all kinds of different weapons, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff with these classes. So you have the Ranger here, who is your standard infantry, and well, you can obviously see the explanation there. The Wing Diver is more of a mobile class, very low HP, but they're very, very quick. And you can see here that they actually have different armor values as well. And then you obviously have the Air Raider here. The Air Raider is more of a kind of support class, much more tactical in the way that they play. And yeah, you can see here this soldier class is for intermediate players. It has the potential to deal a lot of damage, but it has to find itself in certain optimal situations to do so. So very tactical, as I said. Then you have the Fencer. These guys come with basically exoskeletons, and they are able to run around with massive weaponry because of that, because they have increased strength and all that stuff. They're very powerful, but you can see, according to the little asterisk there, it is for advanced players. Its controls are different from those of other soldier classes, and playing this class well requires learning several new techniques. Mastery of this class, however, will grant players terrifying power, but the path to mastery is very challenging. Alright, so I'm actually playing this on a PC, and I'm playing on the Steam version, but you may be seeing Xbox buttons. Now, the reason for that is because I'm using Steam Big Picture, because I personally prefer using a controller with this kind of game. And that's not to say that the keyboard controls are bad, they're actually perfectly fine, I'm just preferring to use a controller. Anyway, I've just run through the tutorial, which basically has you running around and learning the controls and things like that, and now we're going to do the next one. The monsters came from nowhere, and we don't know if there are more of them lurking in the dark. And to make it worse, we can't make contact with the ground. We're stranded at the bottom of the base. But we can't sit around waiting. We must find the rest of our comrades and escape. I will protect you, civilian, but I don't know what will happen. If we're in bad luck, we're going to fight the monsters. Get prepared for battle. So there are 5 difficulty levels. Obviously, the top 2 cannot be accessed until you complete the main story mode first on any of the other difficulties. And people actually say, veterans of the series actually say that you could, if you are a little bit more proficient at these kinds of games, you could play on hard and actually do perfectly fine. But bear in mind that you have to be very careful about playing on Inferno, because it is very difficult. But bear in mind that if you do play on Inferno, it's actually going to change some of your objectives as you progress through the missions. So it is going to offer a vastly different experience than if you were to just play on one of the other difficulties. So there's a lot of replay value here. That's one of the most, well, the most valuable aspects of this game, is just that there are so many different things you can do. You can play online, by the way, as well. You can play online multiplayer co-op, and you can imagine how fun that is, literally running around with your friends, blowing up insects, blowing up, well, if you make a mistake like I might, blowing up your own civilians' buildings and things like that. But yeah, it is a whole bundle of fun, and I am very pleased to show it to you today. So, yeah, as I say, there is a link in the description if you'd like to check it out further. I would recommend it. I played a whole bunch of Earth Defense Force 4.1. This is obviously 5, so it's a little bit different. And as you can see, I'm firing my little rifle here. I don't think I did any damage. Or maybe I am. Maybe I am dealing some damage. I don't know, but there's a lot of insects right here, so we have to be a bit careful. These are obviously the most basic of insect, so they're really not going to be too difficult for us to deal with. And I think we're doing pretty well. As you can see, I already have like a combat dodge as well, so the combat dodge is really, really useful. You can of course jump too. There we go. I actually picked up a weapon. There's some first aid if I actually took any damage. There's another weapon. So you can pick up weapons randomly, and it's just random what you get, obviously. But the more weapons you get, you can actually upgrade your current weapons. I'm not entirely sure how that works at the moment, because I think that's a slightly new feature where you can actually consume older weapons and then level up your current weapon. I don't know whether that is whether that's actually like a new feature, but I don't remember that from the previous game. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But otherwise, what you can do is a rather significant change from the previous game is that you can actually pick up weapons for the other classes. So you don't actually have to play those other classes if you don't want to. And so you can basically play as your favorite class, and then you can try and farm for weapons for those other classes. So for example, if you want to play as a fencer, obviously a fencer is very difficult to play as, and obviously if you have a good weapon initially, then you're going to have a much easier time of dealing with enemies in these early levels. So being able to gather more advanced weapons almost immediately, or at the very least equip one, that's a pretty cool way to go. Pretty cool way to go. So yeah, it's a nice little option that you will indeed have in this new iteration of Earth Defense Force, because obviously in the previous one you weren't able to do that. You basically had to play as the class that you wanted to get the drops from. So if you wanted to get fencer weapons, then you'd have to play as a fencer, and obviously if you're playing with the default weapons, it's going to be a bit more difficult, you know, a bit more difficult. Not impossible, but obviously, you know, just a bit more challenging. Anyway, we're going to run around with our guys here. We're actually doing pretty well so far, but obviously the insects that we're currently fighting are very basic, and you are going to see later on down the line many, many more dangerous ones. Whoa, that's a lot of enemies right there. Ooh, I think we're going to get into some exosuits, or we're going to save some exosuits right here, so we should have a much better chance to survive here. Okay, I'm just going to continue shooting basically all over the place, because personally I feel like the assault rifle is really, really good. A lot of people have said that Rangers are some of the more powerful class just because they can use such a wide variety of weapons, and it is a lot of fun to be able to use like a sniper rifle or a shotgun or assault rifle, you know, all that kind of stuff is available to you. And I think I used to play as a wing diver mostly, because I personally found that to be pretty fun, because you can actually fly around and utilize your mobility on a pretty grand scale, so it's really, really fun to do that. Also, when you sprint, I don't know whether you can notice, but there's a little faint outlying circle around you. Now what that does is it basically increases your pickup radius. So if there is a huge amount of loot on the ground, then you will be able to pick that up just by sprinting through it, and you don't have to go through it with your own character model, so you can just pick it up a little bit easier. You know, just a nice quality of life improvement right there. So I quite like that, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up some more weapons as we go forward here. Now I should mention the performance. As well. Now usually Earth Defense Force has no problems in terms of performance, and this is the same in this iteration. I am receiving no frame drops whatsoever, no crashes, no nothing like that, and it is playing smooth as silk. Obviously you can change your graphics settings if you do encounter some problems, but personally I don't think that's going to be the case, because as I say, most of these games can be played on relatively old hardware and still be absolutely fine, you know. 60 FPS all the time. So performance is perfectly fine. And personally, I don't really think the game even needs to look that good to have a huge amount of fun. I think that in this kind of game, you know, where you're killing huge amounts of enemies, I mean, just look at all of the carnage that is happening right here. Now, bear in mind that this initial level, this is kind of just it's not an extended tutorial, but it's kind of giving you more of an idea of what the gameplay loop is going to be about. But the thing is that this is not really showing the, well, shall we say, the greatest strength of the game. The greatest strength of the game, in my opinion, is being able to run around in the open world in a mission area. And let me just tell you, it's massive. So the mission area is massive. Usually they're sprawling cities and countryside and things like that. And you're able to basically navigate throughout that entire city and try to stop various invasions from happening on points on the map. At least that's how it was in 4.1. Don't know if it's going to be similar here, but as you can no doubt tell, it's a pretty straightforward mission initially, because I think they're just trying to ease us in pretty slowly here, because obviously this game is actually kind of hard. I'm playing on normal right now, and I think I could probably have played on hard pretty easily so far. But you know how it is, you know, if I play on hard, then I'm probably just going to die instantly, because it's me, and that's what happens. But what I'm going to do is, I think we're going to... Oh, what are we doing here? There's no one here?
Let's move on.
I'm a little bit worried about this. I think that the soldiers actually thought that there were a whole bunch of enemies behind this door, but apparently not. Oh yes, and I should probably also mention that the fencer, I used to play a fencer as well, and the fencer is very different, and that's another strength of the game basically, because having those four classes be so dramatically different is a great boon to its replayability, because obviously you can level up, you know, you can level up each individual class, you can level up and upgrade your weapons, you can use different loadouts and so on and so forth. And playing as a fencer, you kind of need to, well, you don't need to know, but it would definitely help you to know dash cancelling. And if you don't know what dash cancelling is, basically it's when you dash and then use some other animation to cancel out of the slower portion of the dash, and then as a result you can then use the dash faster so that you can basically move around the map at light speed. It's really fun if you know how to do it. I'm not particularly good at it, so obviously probably not the best person to talk about dash cancelling, but I know that there are a lot of people that swear by the fencer, because they're very, very good at dash cancelling, and in general they just have a lot of passion. You know, they have a lot of passion for those particular classes. And I like the support class as well. I can't remember what it's called now because it's just that important to me. Yes, of course I'm joking. I think that the support class is actually really fun because you can actually call in vehicles, or at least that's what you were able to do in 4.1. And I think it's relatively similar in this one. So you can call in tanks, and I believe later on you can actually call in things like helicopters and stuff like that. So very, very cool to be able to do that. And now let's see. Okay, we got a lot of hostiles right here. We got a lot of hostiles. Let's see if we can take them out. Thankfully, we're actually fighting with a whole bunch of our friends here, but I know that sometimes you are basically left to your own devices, and you're going to have to fight by yourself, which is obviously going to be very nerve-wracking indeed. I remember one time in a mission in the original, not the original, but in the previous game, where you had to go into their hive, and it was basically, well, not pitch black, but it was very dark, and you were basically, well, not by yourself, but you had a couple of people with you, I think, but it was just very scary, you know, it was just very scary. So it also has that going for it as well, where it has the atmosphere, you know, because usually, you know, you'd think it's just an arcade shooter, you know, but it does have those atmospheric levels as well, which are going to be, well, pretty nerve-wracking. Alright, I think we can now move on. We can jump, yes. And there we have it. So yeah, this is actually the last door, and as you can see, there is the surface, which is exactly where we want to go, because then I can actually show you the sprawling map that you are going to have to play in, and it is just so fantastic, because you are literally in a playground. It is fantastic. Obviously, you are going to have to be a bit concerned about the rather deadly, well, shall we say deadlier insects that you're going to be facing. But other than that, it's really, really cool. Okay, so there you go. We actually gained a whole bunch of items. As you can see, we've gained some additional armor with Ranger, Wing Diver, Air Raider, and Fencer. Yeah, the Air Raider has actually technically the most HP, I believe, out of all of them, I think. Maybe that's been changed, but anyway. We also gained a Proto-Reverser with our Ranger, as well as a Burner. These are special weapons. And then we also have a homing weapon called Mirage Zero with the Wing Diver. And then we also gained some Fencer weapons too, which is really quite nice. So there we go. Okay, so a gas burner for welding. Since it's for job purpose, one should lower the expectation of it as a weapon. Yes, very good. And what is this? The Proto-Reverser. The prototype of a special piece of equipment called a reverser that sprays nanomachines. It is almost useless due to the nanomachine's low performance. Nanomachines can cluster and harden to form invisible armor and temporarily fix damaged armor. It's also used to heal friendly soldiers' health and vehicles' durability. Right. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool as well. I think I might take the Proto-Reverser. And there's the Mirage Zero. Basically, it is a huge brainwave-guided weapon of some kind, so yeah, pretty powerful stuff. And I'm actually wondering whether I should play as a different class so I can actually show you. But I kind of wanted to just play as the Ranger. But you know what? Let's play as the Wing Diver because you haven't seen that yet, and we can use the Power Lance or the Rapier. And this is best for close range combat. Range is extremely short. Guess I'm just going to use that. What about Plasma Cannon? You could use Mirage Zero as well. I'm going to use Mirage Zero actually because it's a homing weapon. And then we have our Plasma Core here, which is basically used for generating flight energy, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So we're going to play as the Wing Diver for the next mission because I think we're actually going to be outside, and I think that could be kind of fun. Alright, so as you can see, we are now outside and we have the ability to look at all of this amazing stuff. Now, unfortunately, I am obviously not very, I am not going to be very good, let me just tell you, at this whole flying thing, so do bear that in mind. But you can see here that the ranged ability, the brainwave thing, only works when you are in flight. So there's also that. But, yeah, that is kind of cool, I think. I think that's kind of cool. As you can see, I'm just firing all kinds of ranged abilities right here. And hopefully I will be able to, as you can see, there's a little dash as well with the Wing Diver. I gotta apologize, by the way. I haven't played a Wing Diver in so long that my ability to control it is relatively hampered. But hopefully I'll be able to get used to it relatively quickly, and I think I have already gotten pretty much used to it. But Mirage Zero is really cool. Rapier, by the way, is this. It's basically like a huge rapid-fire shotgun kind of thing. Oh, hello. There's a lot of enemies. Okay, so you don't even need to be in the air. You don't need to be in the air to fire this thing. So I can basically just fire this almost unlimited, really, because there is no ammo for the Mirage Zero. So pretty cool in my opinion. I like it a lot. And oh yeah, it needs energy. It needs energy. So obviously that's a thing that's quite important to keep an eye on. But it is pretty quickly replenished, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. There are a whole bunch of weapons, as you can see, on the ground here, so I will hopefully be able to pick those up. There we go. Just this sheer carnage of the game. And imagine this in co-op with your friends, because you're literally going to have, well, I don't even know how many people. I think it's 4 people. 4 people maximum that you can actually play. And you can imagine. You can literally imagine it. You can just have 4 people, each playing one of the classes, or you can all play as one or whatever. And it's just going to be a whale of a time. It absolutely is. Because you're going to be able to pick up weapons, upgrade, level up together, and then, well, if you get to the later stages of the game, you can play on an even harder difficulty, and well, have a bit of a challenge there because the Inferno, Inferno difficulty is very, very challenging indeed. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so basically what we can do now, look at this. Wow, now that is crazy. There are so many of them. I'm just going to continue firing here. Okay, I'm just going to let my energy replenish just a little bit, maybe so I can get into the air. Bear in mind that obviously wing divers are extremely lightly armored, so they are going to die very, very fast. I'm going to have to try and prevent these enemies from attacking our, well, forces in general, and try to take them out as quickly as possible. But obviously, every single class has some benefit. So if you're playing as the Air Raider, for example, they have a lot of AoE weapons. And personally, I really love that. I think that the AoE is really, really fun to play with. I'm actually going to use my rapier here because they are so incredibly close that it kind of makes sense. And it does so much damage as well. There we go. Yes, I haven't taken any damage at the moment, which is really nice. But you can see that the rapier absolutely melts them.
There have been accounts of UFO sightings everywhere across the globe. And this time, the UFOs aren't just moving flashes of light caught on camera. According to eyewitnesses, they saw flying objects made of metal. For now, the identity of these objects remains unclear. Since there are reports of sightings coming from everywhere, it is speculated that there are multiple UFOs flying in different areas.
Well, there you go. You heard from the news that right there that there are huge amounts of UFOs in the atmosphere, which is obviously not very good. That is certainly a rather sticky situation, literally, because of all the insect blood that we are currently seeing here. And there are even more coming at us right now. I'm going to use my long-range weapon, at least a little bit if I can.
Exoskeleton team, engage.
Ah, there we go. We have our exoskeletons. So as you can see, they're now starting to fight back, which is great because these huge exoskeletons are beastly. They are absolutely beastly. Now, I believe that if I was actually playing as a ranger or an air raider, I would be able to pilot one of these, I think, because there is actually one right there that is free. But unfortunately, due to the equipment of the wing diver, I will be unable to equip it because, well, I'll be unable to get inside because the equipment of the wing diver is just too large to accommodate the pilot seat. That is the explanation they give, at least. So, yeah, that is a bit problematic, at least if you wanted to get into one of those exosuits, but obviously that's the reason why a lot of people do say that the Ranger is probably one of the best classes, because you can play with anything, really. You know, you can use any of the weapons. You can have a bunch of fun in the vehicles. Air Raiders are obviously very good at using vehicles too, because they do come with a lot of repair equipment and things like that. Come on, let me pick this up. Did I pick it up? I hope I picked it up in time. Well, whatever the case, we did gain a whole bunch of extra stuff. As you can see, we got a closed laser, spark vine, Y3, which is a short-range weapon, phalanx, which is a short-range weapon. We also gained I think some slight upgrades for our rapier as well, and we gained even more stuff down here too. And look, there's the air raider getting some support equipment, the ranger also getting some support equipment. Let's actually just take a look here. Okay, so as you can see, the rapier seems to have upgraded, so you can see here that it has higher damage, it has a higher amount of range, and in general, just doing a pretty fantastic job. Now we also have Sparkvine. I'm not going to be looking at all of these in depth, but basically you can just assume that this weapon is going to be fantastic and a lot of fun to use. And there's the Ranger. So the Ranger has now gained a protective suit, which allows them to now walk a little bit quicker and also dash a little bit quicker as well. And then the Life Vendor, I think this is a pretty cool thing, because basically what it does is heals people automatically when they are nearby. So it's a really, really cool support piece of equipment, which is really nice. I like using it quite a lot. And there are a lot of different loadouts. Let me tell you, there's so many different loadouts with each of these classes. The Fencer has, I think a lot of people in 4.1 used to use wasn't it a medium shield? I think they used a medium shield and like a hammer of some kind. And basically the medium shield would deflect. It seems like they still have deflection shields, but don't know whether they also deflect. But basically they would reflect enemies' ranged attacks, and then you could just dash right over to them and then just hit them over the head with the hammer, and it would be, well, not hit them, but you know what I mean. You could basically destroy them very, very quickly with the hammer. So it was, yeah, it was pretty cool. And yeah, I like this game a lot, as you can no doubt tell, and I'm actually going to be playing more of it. If you'd like to see more, by the way, then by all means let me know. I will be playing more off-screen anyway, just because I enjoy the game. And if you'd like to see my adventures in Earth Defense Force 5, then by all means let me know. And if you wouldn't, and if you'd like to play it for yourself, then there is a link in the description. I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.